So I did some off-camera grinding in Minecraft and I got the world record, kind of. For the first time ever, there's a tied world record in Minecraft, and there was a lot of complication between my time and Raynex's time with like retimes and pausing and different little rules. But what me, Raynex, and the mod team decided to do was just tie the world record instead. There were just too many reasons why my time was ahead of his or his time was ahead of mine. So we just tied it. Also, sorry I forgot to record this while streaming, so we have to watch the Twitch highlight, so it's gonna be pretty low quality and you have to see my caveman face. I'll speed up a couple parts of the run just because they're painful to watch. I mean, if you want to watch the full run because you don't believe me, it's on Twitch. And speaking of Twitch, follow me there. Anyways, enjoy the run, and subscribe! This run happened about 2 hours into my stream, and I didn't really feel like I was playing that well that day either, and you'll probably see that in my movements later in mechanics, but this run just completely came out of nowhere, so I spawned by a village that looked pretty average. It did have a blacksmith, so I guess I wouldn't call it really average, but I checked into it. I was really hoping I could skip trading, skip iron, or just maybe even skip the golem, but instead I just get bread and apples because it's a breadsmith. I decided to continue playing it because for me it's important to grind out nethers as much as possible, even if the time is only like sub 5 minutes entering the nether. I still think it's important to grind out nethers to see if I can get a bastion and fortress right next to each other. Because in my mind, the most important part of a speedrun is the nether and the end, so if I get to those as much as I can, I feel like I have a higher chance of getting a good record, so I don't mind playing out overworlds more often than I should. My plan with villages is as long as it has beds and food, it's good enough to play because once I'm done killing the golem, I'm just gonna look for a cave and get the rest of the iron I need for a pickaxe, bucket, and flint and steel and all that. And once I get my iron, I just dig straight down for lava, and digging straight down for lava gives me cobblestone that I can use for furnaces to smelt the iron while I build my portal. But I did get the furnaces from the blacksmith out of habit, but I guess it didn't hurt. I started getting my usual 6 to 7 hay bales because that is definitely all the food I need, assuming my run is under 20 minutes. One thing I noticed about this village is that all the beds I needed were very spread apart, which is really inconvenient, and I had to run around back and forth and waste a bit of time getting those, but I decided to kill the golem at this point since I was right there and I could sort my inventory and craft my bread in the meantime. So I got this out of the way, and the golem drops 5 iron, which is really nice because now I only need to go and mine 2 iron from a cave, or whatever cave I find. At this point I only had 2 beds and I had to stay in the village for a little bit, so I yoinked the water from that fountain. I looked and saw a bunch of houses over here that I could take beds from. I got one more bed. This one had emeralds I picked up, but there actually weren't enough emeralds to trade with a villager for a bucket. Now this gravel right here, I think I can safely blame this gravel on not getting the world record. I mean, I could really put the blame on anything, but I think flintlock would be the funniest thing, so I blame that gravel. You'll see why later. Now I decide I'm done with the village, so I leave with only 4 beds, which is very risky on its own, but I have a very high chance of getting enough string trades from a bastion for at least 1 or 2 more extra beds. So I'm perfectly fine leaving with 4, and I find the tiniest cave ever. I thought it would just be a dead end, but it actually goes down a little bit. So I start digging down because lava dousing, I think you dig at the start of a cave. I still don't really understand it, but it seems to work, so I do it anyway, and I'm going to speed this up because it's boring. Unfortunately, this dig down to lava wasn't really the best. I did eventually hear some lava pops while I was digging down, but it wasn't real lava, and I had to awkwardly dig around in all sorts of different directions till I eventually found it. This is why taking the furnaces from the blacksmith was kind of pointless, because I end up mining 53 cobblestone before I find some lava. I mean, that's not the actual lava I need. It's flowing lava. But I got the 2 iron I needed just for my pickaxe, and I look around the ravine and instantly find some actual lava I can use to build the portal. So I set up my furnaces, split the iron so it smelts the tiniest bit more efficiently, build my portal. This run really wasn't that great, at least the overworld wasn't. This overworld really wasn't a great start to this run because I am still entering at about 5 minutes, and sub 5 enters are kind of on the way out, as weird as it sounds, because most people will consider sub 4 like the most for world record pace. People usually go for sub 4 or sub 3 enters before they're comfortable with the run being like actually decent. After a pretty below average overworld, I finally start entering the nether around 4:30. I sort my inventory a little bit, and I finally get into the nether. My spawn looked, I mean, it looked nice because it was open. It didn't look that great. I didn't see any immediate structures, but then I did see a bastion to my side. So I decide it's good enough to go for. It's not ridiculously far. I'm not sure if I can actually access it because I start going over the hill hoping that leads to the bastion because other than that I would have to bridge across a lava lake, which is painfully slow. And luckily enough, this hill right over here does lead to the bastion. So I decide to take it, and I see a fortress to my right. So things just got way more real for me. I identified the bastion to be a housing bastion because housing and stables look very similar, but housing is a little bit smaller and a lot more broken up looking. That's all I really do to identify the two. Anyways, I go into the bastion without armor because if I can't go into the bastion without armor, I'm bad and I don't deserve it. So I start rushing over to the double chest, which is over in this back corner. I find it, I start digging in and I block myself off too just to be safe. I got 12 obsidian from the first chest that I opened, which means I don't even have to go on top of the bastion to look in the other chest for obsidian. I just need to trade with piglins. And I start trading with piglins, and this is probably one of the slower parts of the run because I didn't do a very good job in this bastion. I probably could have lured more piglins in. I think I only got 2 or 3 piglins trading with me at this time with all this gold. Anyways, I start mining out the 9 gold blocks that always generate under the housing bastion right here. I turn them into ingots so I can trade them with the piglins. I don't give them all of my gold because I always want to keep a little bit of extra gold on me just in case there's like a piglin aggroed on me because the gold will distract them and then I won't, get murdered. My nerves started getting to me a little bit and I'm kind of just standing around like an idiot. Because, I guess, yeah, I do just need my trades, but also I feel like I'm standing around like an idiot. So I go up and I tried going towards the center of the housing so I could do a bit of like a manhunt route, which is where you break the chest in the middle to aggro all the piglins, but then I just saw the entire floor was lava. So I didn't think it was possible. At the time, at least, I think it actually was, looking at it afterwards, but it's too late now. I got my first pearl trade because all I need right now is fire res and pearl trades. I run through, seeing if I get any more trades. I got one more pearl trade. I'm at 12 right now, which I am not at all comfortable with because that is the bare minimum you need to get to the stronghold. I also need pearls to like move around and also to do the one cycle. Oh yeah, string trades. I forgot I got string trades, so I had enough wool for 2 more beds, which means I was perfectly set on the one cycle at least whenever it got to that point. Got my last pearl trade. 18 pearls is perfectly fine because the fortress is literally right here. So I only needed like 1 or 2 pearls max to get to it. So I start making a mad dash for it. I locate it. I did go the right direction, although I see the treasure part, which is where like all the treasure chests and stairways are. So I actually saw a leg of one of the rooftops or whatever you call them because that's where the spawners spawn. And I made it up. I know that this wall was fake. It just generated over a little bit. I start running down the hallway to look for spawners. I find one right off the bat, which is super nice. And I'm starting to fight blazes at 750. Now this is where another mistake comes in, is I had enough for 6 beds. What I should have done is dedicated one of my beds to blaze bedding, which is where you place a few blocks over the spawner and blow up a bed, and it basically clears out every single block around the spawner except the spawner, and you get like optimal blaze spawns. But instead, I start mining out the floor because I'm out of date. I'm speeding up the video again because we've all seen a blaze fight before. It's just waiting for blazes to spawn and killing them in the same area. It's about as repetitive as digging straight down for lava, so that's why I'm speeding it up again. Again, if you want to watch the run or the stream in its entirety, then you can watch that on my Twitch. I started getting a little bit desperate here because my pace was still, like, completely nuts. I was still at sub 10 blind pace. I looked for another spawner and couldn't find one. I just kind of gave up after 10 seconds and ran back to the original spawner, hoping that I can get my other 2 rods in a reasonable amount of time. I didn't believe that I would have gotten a sub 10 blind, but then 4 blazes spawned. And as you can imagine, I got my 6th rod right here. I killed the last one hoping to get a 7th to be safe, but I didn't. So I went in a little bit risky and hoped for the best. My blind travel was about the same as the one in my Throne World record run, but it could have been way faster because my bastion was pretty slow due to a lack of piglins. My blaze rod rates were pretty decent, but my blaze spawn rates were kind of low because I didn't blaze bed. So right now I'm trying to get to a flat open area so I can throw my first eye. I throw it here. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just writing down the angle so I can do a bit of mental math. And this mental math right here, where I pause to think, actually gets added to my time, which is why my time was so close and ended up just getting tied to Raynex's. But what I'm doing is I'm changing my angle to the side so I can triangulate and get a rough estimate of how far away the stronghold is. I was supposed to go about 40 blocks, but I can't really calculate it since I'm swimming, and I just kind of roughly estimate it. I throw another eye, and I notice that the degrees changed by over 20, which means it's less than 200 blocks away from where I'm standing. I copy down the angle so I know which direction to go exactly, and I know that I only have to travel about 1 to 200 blocks, so I make it to a shore on the other side of this island before I throw another eye, because I know the next eye I throw is pretty much guaranteed to go backwards, and I can easily triangulate it and get into the stronghold in less than a minute or so. I turned on chunk borders because whenever you throw an Eye of Ender, it leads to the exact center of a chunk, which is actually super helpful for finding the chunk if your triangulation's maybe a little bit wonky. So I throw another eye, and sure enough, it goes backwards. And I can already kind of estimate which chunk it's in, judging by the angle. I crafted my 2 extra beds, and I followed the angle, and I assumed that it was this chunk right here. I threw another eye to be sure, and sure enough, it went straight down. So I opened my F3 menu. I went near 4-4 on the chunk because that's where the start of staircase always is whenever you dig down for the stronghold. I dug into a water pool, which kind of threw me off, and then I saw my eye, so I went for my eye and just completely ignored the whole 4-4 situation and dug down at 7-1. So I kind of had to awkwardly staircase closer to the 4-4 chords so I could actually find the staircase. And I pretty much get to the chords I need now, and I can start digging straight down. I don't really have anything to commentate here, but I hit the staircase like instantly, which is great. First things first, go down the middle staircase, because going downwards is like more weighted towards the stronghold room, or the portal room, I think. I saw 2 libraries. I glanced at these rooms to make sure the portal room wasn't there, and it was. So I went to the portal room, filled the eyes. It was a 2-eye, which is always nice. None of my eyes broke either way, so it doesn't matter. Cleared my inventory, and I was entering the end at like 12:20. I start getting myself set up, turn on hitboxes, and I throw a pearl, because having extra pearls is always really nice just to get to the well faster. It's really not that necessary. It probably saves like 3 seconds. But in this run, I guess 3 seconds is quite huge for how close it was. I get my beds sorted. I got 6 beds, plenty of pearls, and an axe. And I think the dragon was about to perch right here, and then it just didn't. It was in a perfect location to just snap, but it refused. It just swung around there and eventually came over to me and started, I think, strafing, it's called, where it flies around me and shoots occasional dragon's breath. This stupid dragon wasted so much time spinning around. I'm just speeding it up right now because I literally lost almost an entire minute to this dragon. I would have easily gotten a sub 14, but just because this dragon decided to come and strafe twice, I had to wait until, finally, it decided to go back and snap around. Threw my pearl, looked up, the dragon swung to the left first, so I had to stay on the left side, and I pulled off a pretty clean 1 cycle. I think that's probably the proudest part of this run, because I don't think I played this very well at all. I wasn't celebrating just yet because I was waiting for the in-game time to load in because of how close this was to world record. It finally comes through, and it's 14:05. I thought I actually got the world record by 5 seconds, but due to a lot of complications I can't really explain right now, me and Raynex are tied. But to put it simply, that one time I paused for about 5 or 6 seconds to do mental math while triangulating was added on to the time I got, which pretty much led it up to be 14:10, 14:11. And the mod team tried retiming mine and Raynex's time, and it just got so close that me and Raynex agreed on a tie. So for the first time ever in Minecraft speedrunning, there's a tied world record. I'll take it, I guess. Also, shameless plug, follow me on Twitch because I'll be streaming all these world record attempts until I get a world record of my own. And subscribe!